Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we'll be building this creative website using HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript when we're going to be using the GSAP library. Now, I picked this design from a Pinterest post. I could not actually find the creator of the design. If you guys know who is the creator, make sure to write that in the comments down below, and I'll probably update the description as well so that once we know who the creator is, we can at least give credit to his amazing design. Now, in the original design, the image here was different, so I couldn't find that image as well. So I replaced it with another similar type of image. Now, so if I reload the page, now you can see that I have uploaded it on Netlify, so you can check it out in this URL, which is urb-ui.netlify.app. The link would be in the description. So if I reload the page, you would see that the heading and also the subheading kind of fade in along with these footers, and then the image kind of starts from the bottom. So if I reload again, you can see the animation. So we're going to be building this cool, slick website using HTML and CSS and also GSAP in this video. So without any further delay, let's get started. And again, the source code of this project also would be down in the description. So if you guys want to know or want to get the source code, you can click on the Google Drive link in the description and you can download it. And again, if you guys have any questions or queries regarding the code, you can comment down below and ask me directly, and I'll try to help you out if I can. If you're new to the channel and if you're watching the video and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do make sure to subscribe now. So please share this video with your friends and family who really want to learn web development, who want to learn how to build creative and modern UI using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So this channel is probably, I think, one of the best in the YouTube. So please make sure to recommend them my channel. And yeah, without any further delay, let's get started and let's build this. So I have opened the project, which is already done. So this is in one tab, and then I have here the one which we'll build now. So you see that in the file structure, so I already have the image, I have the index.html file and also style.css file. So what I'm going to be doing is I have added the boilerplate of HTML, and now in the body, now let's first see the structure. So basically, we're going to be having one main tag within which we're going to be inserting all the different content of our page. So for this, we're going to be using the nav tag, and then we'd have a section element which will basically hold the rest of the stuff. On the section, you would see that on the left, we have this explore more kind of like stuff. So we're going to be having two sections. So one would be the aside tag that we have, and then here we'd have the article tag. So we have our main, we have the nav, and then we have the section tag. Now inside of the nav, we have the logo, which is for this. And then we're going to have two anchor tags for services and projects, and then one div with the class of menu to hold this hamburger menu. And I'm going to be adding that. Now for the icons, we're using remix icons. So I haven't shown you guys how to add that. So if you want to know how to add, you can just come here and you can just type here remix icon cdnjs, and this will give you this link. You can click on the first one and you'll be taken to the cdnjs website, and here you can get this one, which is the minified version. You can copy the link and you can paste it here and you can use the remix icons. Now if you want to know which icon to use, you can come here and go to their official site, remix icon, and the first one that shows. So you're going to click on this. So this is their official page, and you can search here whichever icon you want. Now if I want menu, I'll just type here menu, and you'd see that we have so many varieties of menus. Now the one that I used is probably this one. Yes. So I've used this one. So you can copy and so once you click, you get this pop-up wherein you can copy this code here. Okay, so we're done with this. Now in the section, we have the side tag for this explore more. And then we have the article tag. Now on the side, we're going to have a bar for this line. And then we're going to write span with explore more. Now in the article, we have this text. So all these text will be inside of this text div. And then we have this image, which we're going to be positioning it absolutely in our CSS. And then we have the footer, which are these two. So in the text, we have the location wherein we have the icon and it says New York City, USA, which is this. And then we have the heading. Now in the heading, you'd see that one is in comparison to this big one, it is smaller in size. So we're going to have a span for that and a break tag just so that this one comes in the next line. And then we're going to add an H3 for that. And we're going to say urbanization. And then the subheading, we're going to add the text. And then we're going to add a paragraph and add this paragraph of text. And then we'd have an anchor tag, which would say show more. And then we'd have the bar. Now you notice that this bar and this bar are different because this one has height, but then this one has width. So for horizontal and vertical bars, so for this vertical bar, by default, we'd just call it bar when, so we're using it here. And then for this horizontal one, we'll just specify another class here called as horizontal. So we're done with this as well. Now we're going to add our footer. So inside of the footer, we have footer left, which says this 04 bar and then a span of text. And then we have an icon for this. So we're just going to be calling it an icon div. And inside of that, we're going to be pasting our icon. Now for the footer right, we're going to have a span, which would have text. And then icon, wherein we have this play icon. And then we have the bar. And then we have the context section, wherein we're going to be using two paragraphs. So the first one would have the icon and the contact number. And then the second paragraph would have the mail icon along with the mail address. Let's save. And with that, our HTML is complete. Now let's go to the CSS. And the CSS, I have already added the Poppins font family. And also I've removed the default margin and padding. And also I've removed the box sizing to border box. Not removed actually, but I've set the box sizing to border box. So now in the body, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting the overflow to hidden, since I want this website to be only 100 viewport width and 100 viewport height. So basically I don't want this to overflow out of the screen, and I don't really want the scroll bar as well. So I just set the overflow to hidden in the body. And then in the main tag, so which is wrapping up everything. So here what I'm going to be doing is, let's just do one thing. Let's open it on the right, just so that you can see the HTML markup. So let's close everything. Okay. So this main is wrapping up everything. So inside of the main, we're going to write width 100 viewport width and height 100 viewport height. And we're going to give the font family as Poppins. And then all the anchor tag that we are using, so these anchor tags, also this one. So we'd remove the text decoration, and also we'll set the color to inherit. Basically, whatever the color of its parent is, that color would get applied to the anchor tag. Now we're going to target the nav. Now this nav has logo, two anchor tags, and then this menu div. So we can just add a width of 100% and set this display property as flex and align everything at the center. Let's save. And then we're going to have a gap of 100 pixels so that everything has a gap here. And then we're going to set the height of our nav to 60 pixels. And then we're going to target the logo. We're going to give it font weight along with font size. And then margin right auto so that everything else gets pushed to the right side. And also margin left of 50 pixels. Let's save. Now we're going to target the menu. We're going to give it padding, a background, and also color of white and font size of 20 pixels. Now we're going to target the anchor tags inside of the nav, and we're going to give them font size of 14 pixels with RGB A value of this. Let's save. Okay. Now in the section which holds aside and this article, wait a second. Yes, which holds this aside and then this article. I'm going to write width as 100%. And then height, now since the menu has a height of 60 pixels, so the section would have 100% less, 60% less than the 100%. So we can just use the calc function and we can subtract 60 pixels from 100%. And then we're going to set the property of display flex. Let's save. Now you see they're stacked horizontally. And then we can target the side. We're going to give it width of 10%, height 100%. Writing mode to vertical, left to right. You would see that the text is rotated since we have set this vertical mode. And then we have display flex with justify content as flex end so that it starts from the end. And then align items at the center and a gap of 20 pixels. Let's save. And then the span inside of the side, which holds the text explore more. So we're going to give it rotate of 180 degrees since we want it, let's save, like this. Now, if you have issues with the rotate, what you can do is you can open up the dev tools, or you can inspect the element here, and then you can come here and look at the styles. So for rotate, you would get this dialer kind of thing. You can click on this icon and here you can change and see which rotate value works the best. You see? It's kind of fun. Okay, let's reload. All right. So now we're going to set the font size to 14 pixels and also color it to this. Also, whenever you're designing a creative website or more like a stylish website or any kind of site, make sure that you have kind of like a consistency in your design. So if you see here, the anchor tags have the same color, and also I've used the same color for the span as well. Now, these don't really matter in like designs like this, but in some cases when you're working on big projects, and if you have all kind of stuff messed up and you have different colors for different sections and headings, it makes the website look very, very bad. So it's always a good rule to always keep your design consistent and also to keep your colors kind of consistent across the entire site. So you have this, and then we're going to target the bar. So this aside as this bar, so we're going to target that. We're going to give it height of 80 pixels, width of 2 pixels, and background color of this. Let's save. You see the bar. Now this bar also is applied to this show more, but then the only difference would be the show more has this horizontal class, which would set the width now to 80 pixels and height to 2 pixels. Okay. All right. Now in the article, what you can do is you can set width to 90% since the aside takes in 10%. So 90% is left. So you can just write here 90%, height 100%, and then padding top of 50 pixels with display flex. Now, since you'd see that these are kind of stacked, so this is the text and this is the footer. So they're kind of stacked on top of each other vertically. So what you can do is you can set the flex action to column. And now you can start targeting the elements inside the article. The first is the location inside of the text. We can set the font size, font weight, along with the color. You see, this one is a bit more grayish compared to these services. So I've used a different color for this. And for the icon inside of the location, you can increase the font size and margin right as well. Let's say. Now for the heading, the span inside of the heading, we can set the font size and font weight along with display as inline block. Now span tags are by default are inline elements. Now the reason for setting here the display of inline block is because later when we add animations to this span using GSAP, it won't really work if you do not have this display as inline block. So you can add flex here, you can add anything, but you just need to remove the inline default display. So if you have inline as the default display, you cannot actually use the properties that make this span kind of move along the y-axis. So you need to add here display of inline block or maybe block or any other stuff which makes it kind of capable of moving along the y-axis. So there's that. And then this heading, when we have the h3, you can specify your h3, but I've just added here heading, and you can write here font size, font weight, line height as well. Let's save, and looks good. In the subheading, we can set the font weight along with margin top and margin bottom. Let's save. And then we're going to target the P inside of the text. We can decrease the size a bit and set the color the same as the one that we are using for explore more and then these anchor tags. Now the width of this needs to be a bit small, so we can set the width as 40 characters, meaning that maximum of 40 characters would be used for each specific line. And then we can set the line height to 1.6 and then margin bottom of 15 pixels. Now the anchor tag inside of the text, we're going to set display flex and align items to center with font size of 12 pixels. Now we also need a bit of gapping here, so we can just write here gap and then we can add 10 pixels of gap. And then we also need a bit of font weight, so we're going to add that, and we're going to start with our footer. On the footer, we can set the width and height and also display flex and margin right auto. Now the footer is not visible. Now the reason for that is because the image, we still have the image, so we need to work onto that as well. So for the footer left and right, we can just set display flex if you look here, right? So both are kind of similar in the layout. So we can add display flex to both of these, and we can set justify content and align items to center. And then padding, we can have, let's say 40 pixels. And then the footer left can have a background of this dark background. And then all the different content can be added as this. And then a gap can be of 20 pixels. Along with the width as well. Let's save. It's not visible. Let's do one thing. Let's remove this image for now. You can see. Oops. So here we have the paragraph. We're going to set the font size along with font weight. Also color. Let's save. And then the bar that we have in the footer, that needs to have a color of white. And also the text that we have, we need to decrease the size along with giving it width of 30 characters. And we're going to set the font size to 40 pixels. Let's save. So we have this panel ready. Now for the image, let's bring back our image here. And here we're going to target this image. We're going to set it as position absolute with width of 60 viewport width and object fit to contain. From top, 3 viewport height, and from right, 0. Now this needs to go behind, so we're going to set z index of -1. Right. Now for the footer right, we can have background of this. Let's save. So if you hover over this, you would see that this has kind of an alpha value. The reason for giving it an alpha value instead of an absolute value, just like this, is because if we save this, you won't get the blur effect that we just used here. So to get that, the background color that you have essentially needs to have some kind of alpha value. Right after that, we're going to use the backdrop filter, which enables us to use the blur effect in the background. So we're going to use the blur property and we're going to blur function. And then here we're going to add 10 pixels of blur. You can see that we have this cool blur in the background. So this is primarily the function that is used whenever you're kind of creating stuff with the layout, which the so-called glass morphism design. So this backdrop filter blur is essentially the main element which is used in the glass morphism design, along with the background with some alpha value. You can also give it a kind of like a border, a thin border of maybe the same color to kind of pop it up a bit, but I just didn't feel like, so I didn't add. And then you can set the width to 60% since the footer left was 40%. So yeah. Now I have repeated some code. You see that this footer left. So here you would see that I already have it written as display flex along with justify content and align items. I still wrote it here. You guys can remove it when you download. It's not doing anything. So yeah, you can remove it. So I'll just write here display flex in the footer right as well. I don't know why I wrote here, but it is what it is. So we already have it in here. So this is the reason why I targeted both, but then I ended up writing it anyways in the both individually. And right after that, we're going to target the icon. We're going to give it width and height. The reason for giving it width and height is because we're going to give it a circular shape along with giving it a bit of border. So width and height needs to be same along with font size of 20 pixels, the color white and a border of white. Let's save. Let's add display grid and place content to center, which would position the icon at the center, and a border radius of 50%. Right? Now margin left 20 pixels. Let's save. Okay. Now you see that this is not actually like circular in shape, kind of like an ellipse. The reason for that is because this text is taking too much of space. We're gonna be making up space so that it looks circle in a bit. So now we can target the bar. We're gonna set the background as white along with the margin inline, which is left and right of 50 pixels. And then the span, the text that we have, we're gonna decrease the size along with giving it a width and a color of white. Let's save, and we have the circle ready. Now we're gonna target the contact. We're gonna give them display flex and flex action to column, and each paragraph inside of this would have a gap of 20 pixels. Let's save, and we're gonna set the color to white, and then the icon we're gonna increase the size a bit. All right. So with that, we're done with the HTML and also the CSS of the design. Now let's go ahead and let's add the GSAP. So first, let's grab the GSAP CDN. So we're going to write GSAP CDN.js. The first link that pops up, you're going to click onto that and you're going to just copy this first minify JavaScript link. Let's close this and you're going to paste it here. Wait a second. Yeah. You're going to paste it here. Let's save. Okay. Now you're going to start the script tag and we're going to write GSAP from, and here we're going to target the element which is location. And since we want it Y50, so meaning that it would come from the bottom with some opacity. So this opacity we have removed and we set the opacity to 0. So basically when it kind of starts, it would kind of fade in from the bottom with a duration of 0.5. Let's save. You see it fades in from the bottom. Now we're going to target the heading span, which is this, along with the H3, and same we'd have the Y stagger. The stagger is basically the delay from, so first this animation would get started, and then right after 0.2 seconds, this heading 3 would start. and then the entire duration, the entire animation should go for like 0.5 seconds. And then we set the opacity to 0. Let's save. Okay. Now we're going to target the subheading. We're going to give it Y, a delay of 0.5, and then this opacity of 0. Let's save. Okay. Now we're going to target the footer left, the footer right. So both of these need to come in from the bottom. So we set Y as 100, the opacity as 0. And then the duration of the animation is 0.5 with delay of 0.5 seconds. Let's save. Okay. Now we're going to target the image, which is this. We're going to set Y to 100%. So this entire image would be positioned 100% just below this original position. And then we'd set the delay of 1 second. The animation duration would be 1 second. And let's save. You see how it kind of fades in from the bottom. Yeah, so there's that. So yeah, this is it, guys. Hopefully you learned something new. The source code is in the description, along with the deployed website URL is also in the description. So if you guys haven't checked out my previous video wherein I teach you guys how to kind of create a website with working contact email, make sure to check that video out, because if you want to create any website and if you want to upload it, and if you also want the contact form, or if you have any kind of form to be working, then that is the right video. So without knowing any backend scripting language like PHP or maybe Node.js, you can get it done. So yeah, there's that for today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something new. Meet you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye, and don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. So bye bye.